Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Planning and Stakeholders Relation Committee. Other members of this committee, could you please identify yourselves?
Tom Burgunder.
Stephanie Turman.
Other board members, could you please identify yourselves?
Joe Toddler.
Lori Mizgorski.
Emma
And
Schufair.
And Jen Liptak.
The meetings from the September meeting of this committee have been circulated. Unless anyone has any questions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. There are no resolutions being presented to the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee today. We will now hear the annual report overview of the agency's strategic plan. Daryl Payne, could you please proceed with the presentation?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing today? Just want to make sure my clicker works. There it is. So first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Daryl Payne. I am the Director of Strategic Planning. And I want to start off by saying it's an honor and a privilege to present the annual report, Strategic Plan Year 1 goals that we've outlined in our annual report. As you journey through the pages of the annual report, you'll notice that there is a theme that emerged. And that theme that emerges is dedication. We are dedicated to achieving our objectives and strategies outlined in our strategic plan. Our unwavering focus on customer experience, accountability, resiliency distinguishes us from our peer agencies and ensures that our riders have the best service. What truly sets us apart is our genuine care for the needs of our riders, employees, and stakeholders. With our talented and skilled team, we are poised for greatness. As reflected in our annual report, PRT is leading the way in public transportation excellence. Outlined in our annual report are our focus areas reflecting customer experience, resiliency, and accountability. Within the annual report, you'll notice as you journey through the report, we have 12 strategies for customer experience. 3 of those strategies are making progress, 7 are on target, and 2 have been achieved. With resiliency, we have 9 strategies in year 1 on our annual report. 4 are on target, and 5 have been achieved. And lastly is our accountability. We have 14 strategies in total, 2 making progress, 9 on target, and 3 have been achieved. In conclusion, great job, PRT. On the screen are components and tenets that I believe reflect our work, and they contribute to our success, to the agency that we are proud to represent. I am proud of our achievements and look forward to applying lessons learned and best practices to meet our goals in coming months and years. Stay tuned with PRT as we continue to innovate and lead public transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Payne about the annual report? I actually do have one question. Sorry to make you go back. This might be just more something that affects the report, but I remember hearing a data issue around ridership count over the past year, and I'm wondering how that's accounted for in the annual report.
So I've heard the same thing, and we're working towards identifying our performance indicators, identifying targets, And the rider count is one of those things that we're looking at currently. It's not specifically outlined in our annual report, but we talk about the good work that we've done related to ensuring our riders are getting from point A to point B.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear the University Line BRT project quarterly update. Amy Silverman, could you please proceed with the presentation?
Absolutely. Good morning, board committee members and board members and everyone else. I'm Amy Silverman. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at PRT, and I'm happy to give a quarterly update on our construction project, the PRTX University Line Bus Rapid Transit. So first, just a reminder of this ongoing project. I know we've all had probably some level of engagement with it over the years, but wanted to remind folks of what's happening currently and how it is phased. So the University Line project connects downtown, uptown, and Oakland with dedicated infrastructure to support rapid transit. We have broken the construction for the project into two phases. So phase 1 is currently ongoing, and that is just in downtown Pittsburgh. And then phase 2 in our uptown and Oakland neighborhoods as far east as Belfield Avenue is advancing towards contractor selection, which you'll all hear more about later this morning from Greg. This is a map showing those two phases. So on the left side of the map is downtown Pittsburgh. That is outlining phase 1, which will include 5 rapid transit stations, as well as bus lanes and upgraded traffic signals. And then phase 2 incorporates uptown and Oakland all the way to Belfield Avenue, as I mentioned previously. I mentioned traffic signal updates, so that's one of the activities that is very actively occurring right now in downtown. So this month, we have actually been starting to activate the new traffic signals that have been installed as part of the project. They're happening one at a time. We do have 35 new traffic signals that are part of this project in the downtown loop area on 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue, and Liberty Avenue. And so those are continuing to advance throughout the rest of this month. We do have some upcoming changes to traffic flow in downtown as the project nears sort of the end of our construction season here, and we sort of button up a bit for the winter. So at the end of October, we will install the final traffic paint for both 6th and 5th Avenues. In order to ready this project for the bus-only lanes, which will come in spring of 2025. So the bus-only lanes will not be going in this fall, but they will be going in the spring. So we will be updating the traffic flow with those traffic signal updates to make sure that all of that flow is ready for the bus-only lanes in the spring. It doesn't really mean any changes to traffic lanes themselves other than where the paint is on 6th Avenue, but it does mean a few changes to traffic lanes on 5th Avenue between 6th Avenue and Liberty Ave. So look to those changes starting to come at the end of this month. We have several safety and accessibility improvements that are part of these intersection and traffic flow changes. So we have ADA compliant curb ramps and crosswalks going in at those intersections. We have accessible pedestrian signals with push button activators going in as well, illuminated pedestrian countdown signals, the new traffic signals I already mentioned, intersection lighting, expanded sidewalks in some areas are pretty robust, especially at the corner of Liberty Avenue and 5th Avenue, and also at the corner of Liberty Avenue and 6th Avenue. And then we will have 5 stations going in the spring to support the Bus Rapid Transit project, and those stations will all have an ADA compliant loading zone for folks to get on and off the buses. Here are 2 pictures on this slide just showing examples of those new curbs. We are installing granite curbs, which is a typical condition for the downtown area. So those granite curbs are going in and have gone in many places throughout downtown for this project, as well as new curb cuts and tactile warning pads to indicate for those with limited vision that they are getting ready to cross the street. This is our project timeline. So just bring us full circle. This project has been underway for quite some time. We began construction for phase 1 last fall. in 2023. And phase 1, which is downtown, that construction will wrap up close to the end of next spring, heading into next summer. Phase 2, assuming we advance later on this month with our board, moving towards our contract, we will begin construction in the spring of 2025, and that will be a 2 to 2.5 year construction process. So in 2027, the full project will be completed and constructed. Of course, now once downtown construction is done, we will be able to begin using the infrastructure in downtown. So it'll be sort of a rolling opening of the project, if you will, as we can complete certain portions of construction. We won't leave them there for no one to use for 2 years while the rest of the project is constructed. And the last slide is just giving folks a few different links and phone numbers of where they can go to stay in touch with the project. So our project website at rideprt.org/BRT. We also have a newsletter which provides weekly updates on the project construction in downtown, and will continue to do so through our phase 2 construction. And then, of course, you can always call customer service or email brt@rideprt.org if you have any questions about the project. And with that, I am happy to take any questions on the quarterly update.
Amy, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you going to maintain the direction of the buses throughout this whole process until BRT opens? Or are you going to reverse it to the way it used to be for a while?
Yes, great question. So currently the buses are flowing, let's see if I can get this right, in a clockwise fashion through downtown. They're coming inbound on 5th and then turning right on Liberty, right on 6th, before heading back outbound on Forbes. That is currently a detour that is built into the system. Our regular flow is in the reverse direction of that. As far as I'm aware, with our Special Services and Detours Department, we are going to try and keep the current detour flow, which is also the eventual permanent flow of those buses, in that clockwise direction throughout the remainder of the construction. There may be some slight and short changes to that next spring, as we have to put down the red pavement material for the bus lanes. They may need to detour the buses off of those street segments for 2 to 3 weeks at a time to allow that new material to cure. But I do believe they are going to try and keep that current clockwise flow as much as feasible through the remainder of the project. And then right now, our tentative plan is to formally put that flow into the schedules for those buses with our June schedule changes in 2025.
I have a follow-up question to that. Does the timeline of the 61 and 71 service that was rerouted for this project follow this timeline in terms of when those routes will be restored, as being when the construction is complete, or in 2025, 2027, or is there a different timeline for that?
Are you talking about last fall's changes when
Yeah.
we shortened the 4 routes? Yeah. So the shortening of those 4 routes is the final, let me just go back to our route map here, is the final condition of those routes under the BRT project. So that is planned to be a permanent routing change. We obviously, of course, also have a separate project going on right now that is proposing other changes, including to some of those routes. But the 4 routes that currently come all the way downtown to support this project, which is the 61A, B, C, and the 71B, are planned to stay as they are currently today, both with this project and with bus line redesign. And then the P3 is still planned to be extended into downtown at some point as we move into the future of construction with the project. The 4 routes that were shortened last fall are not planned to be re-lengthened at any point in this project. That was a final condition change.
Great. Do other board members have questions for Ms. Silverman? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I wanted to address your question on the ridership numbers.
Oh, yes.
That came up a little earlier today. And good morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As Chair Fan has mentioned, Starting back in January, folks who would be looking at our ridership data saw a drop in our year-over-year ridership data. We had updated one of our data collection softwares, and last October, and it went live in January. So starting in January, we saw anywhere from 4 to 7% reduction, and we saw it across the system. So 1 month is an observation, twice is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern, right? So our planning team and our IT team were digging into what was going on, specifically since this was going across all of our service. And we weren't hearing anecdotally, we weren't seeing from folks that universally we were losing that ridership. Additionally, our revenue and our pass activity was not changing. So looking for the most logical explanation, if the amount of money coming in at the fairs and the amount of activity at the fare box is not different, we're not seeing anything that feels different, but there's a system showing us something is different across the board, we would presume it was probably a system issue. So we went back through, ran it to ground, and what it looks like is that this update has trued up our ridership accounting. We do look at our fare box data. We also have a group, our service development associates, who go out through regularly scheduled surveys. We vet this survey plan with the Federal Transit Administration. It's part of our legally required reporting to the National Transit Database. We follow the same reporting standards as every other federal grantee and recipient in the country. So it's a good leveling of what our ridership would look like. And those numbers supported what the newer numbers that were coming in. So previously we'd had system A reporting high, that's where we're getting numbers, but this other system saying, So it looks to us not that we have lost 4 to 7% of our folks every single day, but that we're getting an accurate measure of how many people are actually getting on at point A and point B. At the same time, we are implementing the APCs, our automated passenger counters, on our rail fleet. So that'll give us an additional data point that shows us, are we truing this up? Are we wacky? Are we not? We go through this process every couple of years to make sure that what we're reporting out, like obviously we look at it every month, we look at it annually, but at least every few years we do a dive to make sure, is this right? Are we reporting too low? Are we reporting too high? We do not go back and retroactively fix data if we find out we were reporting too high or reporting too low. We just go with the information we have, and we can asterisk if we need to. So what you'll see in our annual data for this year is an asterisk that starting in January, we modified our reporting system. And we weren't seeing fewer people. And again, what we're seeing at the fare box is not less activity coming on. We've also, I want to say we're fully hired up, knocking on a podium. We have another class of 40 some odd operators in the pipe. So we are now on average dropping, if we drop service on a day, we're dropping less than 3 hours on bus. Yesterday, I believe it was 2 hours and change. We have many days where we're not losing any service. So it is not that the service is missing and therefore we're not getting people. It's that it looks like it was a reporting issue that we have finally corrected. I would love that it went 7% in the opposite direction, but the numbers are what the numbers are. And it behooves us to be accurate with the information.
Thank you.
I figure you, of all people, will have questions.
Yes, I definitely. Thank you so much for answering that. Yeah.
And if you would like more information to a committee update or any briefing for anyone that we can share out publicly, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like that's the end of the agenda for the committee today. Do I have an motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Okay.
Good morning, board members and committee members. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. Would other members of the committee, could you please identify yourselves?
Emma Schuker.
Other board members, could you please identify yourselves?
Tia McClinney.
Jen
Nicholas
Liptak.
Lori Mizgorski.
Tom Burgunder.
Bobby Fan.
Stephanie Turman.
Thank you. The minutes from the September meeting of this committee have been circulated. Unless anyone has any questions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Motion.
I'll take that as a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now hear a summary of public comment for the Partner Pass program. Dominica Brown, could you please proceed with the presentation?
Yes, hello, good morning, Chair and fellow board members. So yes, I will be giving a review of the public comment period for the Partner Pass, which ended on October 11th. So the Partner Pass is a program that is designed to encourage ridership by enabling eligible entities to purchase monthly passes for all of their employees, residents or tenants, and students at a discount of $28 per monthly pass for each individual participating in the program. The Partner Pass is a result of a universal pilot funded by the Heinz Endowments, and the pilot was conducted in 2023. So this slide just has a bit of information about the public comment process. The public comment period began on September 12th and ended on October 11th. It lasted for a 60-day period. It included 2 information sessions on September 10th, 1 public hearing on September 12th, and we received a total of 30 comments. 8 were received in person at the public hearing, and 22 were received online. There were no comments received via voicemail or snail mail. 23 of those comments were positive, 3 were negative, and 4 were neutral. The neutral comments were questions with no position of for or against the Partner Pass, while the negative comments were against the agency or towards the agency as a whole and not necessarily regarding the Partner Pass. These top comments are snippets of 2 comments that were received. One was in person during the public hearing and the other was online. So the Clean Air Council is in support of the Partner Pass proposal and any effort to make public transit more accessible to people in our region. This program would be a net good for workers, businesses, and the environment. The second quote states, the program is a strong step towards boosting downtown accessibility by managing transportation demand in our region. Offering transportation benefits to workforces can improve employee satisfaction, retention, and recruitment, all while reducing carbon emissions and improving local air quality. So for next steps, we plan on returning to the Finance Committee next month with 2 proposed resolutions. The first would be to approve the Title VI analysis for the Partner Pass program, and the second would be to authorize PRT to adopt and implement the Partner Pass program. So are there any questions before I get into the financial statement review?
This is Tia McClenny. I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a place where we can access all the public comments to see them specifically?
So there isn't a public place, but we will definitely provide it to anyone who requests. So you all will receive a copy of the summary that we compiled. It consists of a review of the entire process, images of the website where the information was posted in newspaper ads and social media app, and then also all of our public comments received.
Okay, thank you.
Member McClenny, good morning. This is Catherine. To Dominica's point, part of the public record includes a summary of the comments. Essentially, a spreadsheet says, here's a comment, here's what happened. We do obviously maintain a record of all the comments. We can make that available on request. We can go ahead and share that out with obviously all members of the board. Traditionally, we don't post it the entirety of like, here's a picture of each comment on a public facing website, but if that's a desire of the board, we obviously can do that.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. So as we usually start with our financial review, we look at the passenger revenue trends. September actually finished where we would expect it to, with more than $100,000 over the budgeted amounts in passenger revenue. For the month of September, total revenue was about $300,000 above budgeted amounts. That is due to higher interest income and passenger revenue. In expenses for the month of September, Total expenses were $2.4 million below budget. That's primarily due to materials and purchase services. Wages and salaries for the month of September were higher than budgeted. However, they're offset by sick, vacation, PTO days paid out, and benefits being lower than budgeted. For the month of September, subsidies were $4.9 million higher than budgeted, and that was due to invoicing of the remaining balance of the CRISA funds that we received, as well as higher state operating assistance. For the fiscal year to date through Q1 of fiscal year 2025, total operating revenue is $45,000 below budgeted. Although fares were about $600,000 below the budgeted amount, interest income has made up for that at about $700,000 above our budgeted amounts. For the year to date in expenses, we are about $10.4 million below budget, and that is due to lower benefits, materials and supplies, and purchase services. Again, subsidies for the year to date, they're higher, $13.8 million above what was budgeted. And that is again due to stimulus funding, invoicing, as well as higher state operating assistance. For operating reserves, PRT began the month with $372.4 million. Cash inflows during the month were $15.1 million. $6.7 million of that was CRISA funding. The cash outflows during the month totaled $36.4 million, and PRT ended the month with $351.1 million in operating reserves. And this chart is the final chart that we'll be sharing, showing our federal stimulus invoicing. As I mentioned from a previous slide, we did expend the remaining balance of our CRISA funding. So at this point, we have expended all of the federal stimulus funding that was received. And that is the final slide that I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dominica.
Thank you.
Assuming there's no questions, that's the end of the agenda for the committee today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. This is Representative Nick Piscitano. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Performance Oversight Committee. Other members of this committee, can you please identify yourselves?
Tia McClinney.
Lori Mizgorski.
Thank you. Other board members, please identify yourself.
Joe Totten.
Emma Schuker.
Stephanie Turner. Bobby Fan.
Tom Bergender.
Thank you. The minutes from the September meeting of this committee have been circulated. Unless anyone has questions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve these minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. We have a series of resolutions today. The first proposed resolution, the awarding of bids. The first is to be outlined by Mr. Jeffrey Devlin. Could you please report on this resolution?
Yes, good morning. I have 8 bids for your consideration this morning. The first one is Brake Drums Coach. This is solicitation B 240873A. Of course, is publicly advertised with e-business documents. We had 252 suppliers notified, and 5 suppliers accept the invitation with 5 bids received. And this is to furnish and deliver brake drums in the maintenance of our bus fleet over a 2-year period with a 1-year renewal option available. Our recommendation is that contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Truck Pro LLC, in the estimated amount of $266,472.50. This pricing does represent a 7% increase over the previous contract, which was 1 year ago. Staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. Our second bid is for synthetic automatic transmission fluid. This solicitation B240875A, again, was publicly advertised with e-business documents distributed. We had 369 suppliers notified, 3 suppliers accepting the invitation, and 2 bids being received. And this is to furnish and deliver synthetic automatic transmission fluid in bulk, which is utilized in the maintenance of our bus fleet. This is for a 1-year period with no renewal options available. Our recommendation is a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is Brentag Lubricants Northeast, in the estimated amount of $255,510. This pricing represents a 1% increase over the previous contract prices for these products, which was also 1 year ago. Staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. I will pause here for any questions on these 2 bids. Our third bid this morning is magnetic track brake suspension replacement parts. This solicitation, which was B240876A, publicly advertised with e-business documents. We had 213 suppliers notified, 1 supplier accepted the invite, and this 1 supplier did submit a bid to furnish and deliver magnetic track brake suspension replacement parts. These are used in the maintenance of our light rail vehicle fleet. This is for a 2-year period with a 1-year renewal option available. As this was a single response, we did do a single bid survey. 1 firm stated they're unable to bid competitively as these particular parts are more specialized. Many firms stated this was outside their scope. Our recommendation is a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which was Hall Industries Incorporated, estimated amount of $141,600. This pricing represents a 6% increase over the previous contract prices 2 years ago, and staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable, consistent with the funds budgeted. Our fourth bid this morning, hazardous and non-hazardous waste removal. I was looking for a photo for this one, and I just couldn't think of something that made sense. So this was solicitation B240874A1, publicly advertised with e-business documents distributed. 412 suppliers were notified, 3 suppliers accepted the invitation, 2 bids were received, and this is to provide necessary services to identify, package, transport, treat, store, and dispose of hazardous, universal, and non-hazardous waste generated at our various PRT locations through day-to-day operations. This is for a 2-year period with a 1-year renewal option available. Our recommendation is that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Environmental Specialists Incorporated, in the estimated amount of $109,025. The comparison to a previous contract could not be made due to the addition of some line items and quantity revisions in the current solicitation. However, staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. I'll pause here for any questions on these 2. Our 5th bid this morning is propulsion drive control units. This is a sole source. Our light rail system currently operates 81 light rail vehicles, which utilize the same propulsion system and drive systems, which were designed by Bombardier Transportation. The systems and components which make up the systems are in large part electronic printed circuit boards with very unique software. Both the design of the propulsion system and the software are proprietary to Bombardier. One of the circuit cards, which is called the drive control unit, can sometimes be repaired, but in the event it cannot be repaired, it cannot unfortunately be replaced. Alstom, the OEM for this component, has indicated that these DCUs have reached their end of life in the life cycle, which means that this product is no longer available for new production. Amy Power currently has 37 new DCUs in stock and has agreed to sell them to PRT. Our recommendation, therefore, is that a contract be awarded with Amy Power in the total not to exceed amount of $365,375. Staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. Finally, in income revenue generated, the lease and operation of our Wabash parking facility. Back in September 2020, when very few of us were physically in this room, the board authorized the Port Authority of Allegheny, PRT, to enter into contract with PPG Public Parking to lease the PRT-owned Wabash HOV parking facility, which is located on West Carson Street, at which they provide all operational and day-to-day maintenance services for public parking. The initial base term of the contract was a period of 2 years through December 22nd, with 3 one-year option periods available to extend the contract. A year ago, the board authorized PRT to exercise its second option year to extend the term of the contract through December 31, 2024. To date, the contractor continues to satisfactorily provide the operational maintenance services required under the contract. Therefore, staff is requesting to exercise the third and final one-year option period to extend the term of the contract through December 31st, 2025, for the total rental amount of $96,000 payable by PPG Parking to PRT in equal monthly installments. We do wish to note that due to the significant impacts from the pandemic on parking garage and lot utilization in downtown and North Shore, some rents otherwise due under the lease had been partially forgiven by PRT, and rents had been reimbursed through COVID funds, Dominique was mentioning earlier. Full rental payments did resume in May of 2023. Therefore, it's our recommendation the contract be amended with PPG Public Parking to exercise this third one-year option period to extend the term of the contract through December 31st, 2025, for a total rental amount payable in equal monthly installments of $96,000. Subject to any questions, I'd respectfully request this resolution be taken to the full board. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Do
can-
any members of the committee have questions?
Yes, this is Bobby. I just have one question about the proportionate drive control units.
Oops.
I know that there was an update about the light rail cars themselves in terms of future acquisition of new vehicles. In purchasing these 37 new DCUs, does that put these vehicles in a maintenance cycle that lasts them not long enough? Does that make sense?
Don, do you want me to take this or do you want to? I'll just hand it off. Otherwise, it's a word salad.
Morning, member fan. So these are replacement components to help us maintain the fleet to get them through the end of their useful life. As Jeffrey mentioned during his presentation, we've been buying repaired and replaced ones now. This is just a contract to continue that until the new cars arrive. Did I answer your question, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious if this if there's a transit asset management program that is also driving these purchases.
So we do have an in-house work order system that we utilize at the car house, and we are also looking at what they use on a facility side is a fix-it work order system, and we're looking at also testing that at the car house actually currently. So we do look at that stuff, and we do capture those costs. Okay, thank you.
I had a question around this similar topic with the DCUs. So we believe that they're new, that they will last long enough to get us through to the new light rail cars.
Yes.
And if for some reason they don't, are we able to repair and remanufacture what we do have, or some of the older ones that are still in use?
So the older ones are no longer repairable, which
Okay.
is the need for the contract. These should make it. I would have to do some follow-up to answer your question, Board Member Muskorski.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on these?
Maybe we'll get an
Right
AI
now.
tool in here to build these new ones or something, right? Yes.
May I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. The next resolution is a request for authorization to extend and amend the agreement with Enghouse Transportation LLC to provide hosted interactive voice response service. Mr. Jim Ritchie, could you kindly present this resolution?
Excuse me, Chair Todd, and if you would like, I would prefer a couple moments to talk about some upcoming solicitations. And then we'll
Sure,
get
go
to
right ahead.
Jim's. Okay, thank you. So as we started a few months ago, quarterly, we will present to you just a list of some of the upcoming, and some of them are actually in progress, solicitations and opportunities that are coming up, in hopes that folks on the call can encourage more folks to register with us and bid on our various opportunities. So a key aspect of this, if you could encourage folks to register via ebusiness.rideprt.org, that will grow our vendor list and supplier list so that we can get even more competition in our bids. What I'm going to list here today are some of the projected opportunities we see in the next 3 to 6 months. Granted, these are very subject to scheduling changes. As I said, some are actually already in motion and on the street. So just to list through some of these, I'll describe a couple as I go. Fare box replacement as part of our fare refresh system. General planning services, which is a consulting service contract. Digital communications services, which is additional televisions and screens out on the busways and rail system so that folks know what real time when the vehicles are arriving. Engagement software, which is used by our planning group to gather public feedback on different projects. ADA interpretation services, merchandise and apparel services, IT consulting services, security camera services, sometimes called CCTV. Hosted interactive voice response, which Jim is going to present here in a minute. Casualty risk management, service management, and help desk ticketing software. Gemini passenger plastic seat inserts for our vehicles. Diesel engine oil, bus batteries, processed stone, Meritor drivetrain parts, refrigerants, to maintain, inspect, test our fire alarm systems, some equipment cleaner bids, EGR coolers for Cummins engines, remanufactured exchange fuel injectors, and copier management services. Facilities, HVAC improvements are coming up in our construction schedule, along with our South Hills Village Rail Center and South Hills Junction Building 5 renovations, Harmer Roofing, mechanical and interior renovations, rehab at our Castle Shannon Park and Ride, and an expansion at the Ross Park and Ride. And as I noted, a few of those are actually already on the street. We would encourage you to let other folks know of this long list of upcoming solicitations and new activities. Thank you. And now I'll yield the floor to Jim Ritchie. Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a comment first,
Yes.
please? Just and I can appreciate you making the announcement if there's any other contractors that would be out there interested in bids. Have we ever considered doing in-house public engagement on small businesses, outreach, such as other agencies do on a regular basis? I know that we let a lot of contracts yearly, but to put together our own engagement around
You want it or me?
getting.
I can do it.
Pardon me?
Yep. I was asking Catherine if she wanted or if she wanted me to do it, but I will step aside.
Good morning, Member Terman. Thank you for the question. We have we have a pretty robust outreach process with our DBE team. So I think what might be useful is us having them come back to present, if not next committee, then in the very near future on the activities that they have done, what the outreach has been, what our results are we've seen. But obviously, We're always open to any suggestions. So, and we always have opportunities to do better. So let us bring that information back to the committee to hear, and then we can proceed on from there on any improvements that you would recommend.
Fantastic, because it helps build the pipeline of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
That's what I was going to say. Anyway. Any other questions? Thank you very much. I yield to Jim.
Good morning. I'm Jim Ritchie. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for PRT, and I'm here to present a resolution that would authorize extending and amending our integrated or interactive voice response system, which is a customer service based phone system that essentially allows anyone to call in 24/7, 365 and get scheduled information, real-time trip information, and fare card balance information. In 2023, this system processed 454,000 calls for us coming in through the center. And what this does is it gives customers an added option. It's not just the hours. You were previously limited to just the hours that a live representative was available and working. This gives people the option to bypass that during business hours, but also after hours, anytime, day and night that you want that kind of information, you can get it through this system. To give you some perspective, that's about 32% of all the calls we get through our customer service center. It also has tie-ins to the texting capabilities in the system for customers who can use our SMS system. That information is posted on all of our bus stops, where a rider can text a number and within a matter of seconds have information at their fingertips about the next arrivals at that location. And over the last year, John Beeler, our Director of Customer Service, implemented a Spanish language option for that system. So customers who speak and understand Spanish can use the system just as easily. The board first approved the current agreement in December of 2017, and this included up to 3 option years. The resolution that I'm bringing today would authorize the 3rd and final option year of that original agreement. That would extend the agreement through December 19th of 2025, and the authorization also would increase the total not to exceed amount by $127,586.80, which would bring the total not to exceed amount to $1,529,829.80. And with that, I ask for your consideration of the resolution.
Thank you. Does any board member have questions for Mr. Ritchie?
I do have one question. You mentioned the SMS services to learn the arrival times or so on. I've heard mention of new bus stop sign designs and so on to be rolled out in the future. Is there a plan to put them on every stop by chance, those SMS, that SMS number system? I'm seeing it.
I'm seeing it too.
Okay.
And I didn't know that automatically, just because it's like Amy's group who sends that information
Yeah,
over to my group. So I was relying on them. Did you want to add anything?
The new bus stop signs, which we have about 10% of the system, has now been updated to the new sign that has more content on it rather than just the blue sign that says bus stop. And I believe all the new signs have the individual text, the 5-number code, and then the bus stop 4-number code. So there's the text number and then the 4-digit bus stop code. And when you text that, it will then provide you the real-time arrival information at that specific stop of all routes that are arriving.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board next week?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next resolution before the committee is a request for authorization to amend agreements for the Bus Rapid Transit Project construction. Mr. Greg O'Hare, could you please present this resolution?
Good morning. So this resolution seeks authorization to amend the agreements for the Bus Rapid Transit Construction Management Services. The board originally approved this agreement in September 2021 with CDR McGuire Incorporated and Hill International Incorporated for a term of 3 years plus 2 option years. The agreement is set to expire December 31st, 2024. This resolution would exercise 2 option years to extend the agreement to December 31st, 2026, with no increase to current not to exceed cost. And the intent of this is to provide construction management services during the construction of BRT phases 1 and 2. For some illustration, on the right-hand side, no worries. Just for some illustration, on the right-hand side is 2 pictures. The upper right-hand picture is the inspectors overseeing the work at one of the intersections where we have been installing the new ADA accessible intersections with the ADA ramps. And the bottom right-hand picture is a picture of the inspectors watching over the construction crews installing the granite curb. Pending any questions, I respectfully request the committee to move the resolution to the full board for consideration.
Thank you. Do any members of the board have a question on this resolution? Hearing none, may I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
Motion.
I'll take that as a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. The last resolution today is the request for authorization to award construction contract for the Bus Rapid Transit Uptown to Oakland project. Mr. O'Hare, can you please present this resolution?
Thank you. So this resolution I'm very excited to present as we've reached this critical milestone that'll bring the significant improvement to the region. So this resolution seeks authorization to award a construction contract for BRT 001 Bus Rapid Transit Uptown and Oakland. This contract scope of work is the construction of phase 2 of the University line along 5th Avenue and Forbes Avenue in Uptown and Oakland. The work generally consists of 18 new transit stations, CCTV at the new transit stations, blue light phones at the new transit stations, real-time signage, arrival signs, and fare vending at the transit stations, dedicated bus and bike lanes, asphalt and concrete paving and signage, signal upgrades and replacement, including the transit signal priority equipped, sidewalk replacements, including ADA ramps, stormwater drainage system improvements, and temporary traffic control during construction. The project duration is 770 calendar days from notice to proceed. We anticipate the work to be completed in 2027. The low responsive bidder is Independence Excavating Incorporated with a bid of $99,841,956. So
Thank
here's
you.
just a picture for illustration purposes of a rendering of a BRT station, a typical BRT station. This one happens to be near Duquesne University on Forbes Avenue. As you can see, there's a station in the background. There's the new crosswalks and ADA ramp improvements. And also adjacent to the station in the right-hand lane is an illustration of the new bus lane painted red. And one more illustration for the group. This map shows the entire graphic of the university line, including the current construction that is in downtown, as well as this particular contract, which is phase 2, bounded by the yellow line in Uptown along 5th and Forbes Avenue from Diamond Street to Bellafield Avenue in Oakland. Pending any questions, I respectfully request the committee to move the resolution to the full board for consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a second? May I have a second, please?
Oh, second. Sorry, I thought I
Thank
heard
you.
someone.
No, you're okay. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Finally, on our committee agenda this morning, we will have a presentation of the audit of internal controls of the purchasing card program. Ms. Buhari, please proceed with the presentation.
I haven't used this before, so I'm going to make sure I can operate this. Which, does it go this way or, I'm sorry. That way. Oh, okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hadiza Buhari, and I'm here to present the results of our audit of the internal controls over the purchasing card program. A brief overview of the program. The PCAD program. The purchasing PCAD program is administered by the Procurement Department, which is under the Agency Innovation Services Division. Purchasing cards provide an efficient means to procure low-dollar items, and low-dollar is considered less than 10,000, and also for time-sensitive purchases. Advantage is to reduce the total number of purchase orders processed and also check payments that are processed through PRT. Purchasing cards are provided to authorized employees in accordance with the purchasing card manual. Documentation for the PCAD transactions are reviewed and reconciled monthly. There were 68 PCAD holders as of June 2024. And there were a total of 9,047 purchases made with the PCAD during the same period. Our audit objectives were to determine whether the PCAD program is being administered in accordance with the policies as outlined in the PCAD program manual. Employees, so some of our observations are also to determine whether employees are complying with the guidelines established in the PCAD program manual, and that purchases made with the PCAD are adequate for business purposes and also adequately documented. The scope of the audit was January 1, 2019 through December 31, 2021. The audit methodology was we performed an performance audit in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards, commonly referred as GAGAs. The detail of our audit methodology and how we accomplished our audit objectives are presented in the report and also in attachment A. So the result of our audit. So in our opinion, internal controls associated with the PCAD program are generally effective. Employees are complying with the PCAD manual, and purchases made are for business-related purposes and are also adequately documented. We noted one observation related to sales tax charges. The PCAD program is intended to meet, so some of the strengths we noted was that the PCAT program is meeting its intended purpose, and that cardholders who have cardholders attended the required PCAT training. Required forms are also signed and are also saved in the employee personnel files. All the samples we tested were for appropriate and PRT-related business charges. The observation we had was related to P-type Pennsylvania sales tax that were paid on the PCAT purchases. PRT is exempt from paying sales tax, and there were instances where PRT was charged sales tax, and these were not noted and reversed timely. This observation and our recommendation was discussed with procurement management, and they concluded with our recommendation that they are going to pay more attention to the transactions and make sure any charges, sales tax that were charged will be promptly investigated and also reversed. And this concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Is there an average purchase amount from this audit?
I could look into that and give that to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda for our committee today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.